Okay. So, Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to everyone here. Welcome to our webinar session, which is about disability inclusion, the support system in Malaysia for people with disabilities. So, first, let me introduce myself. My name is Nurin Asyiqin binti Ramli, a communication student in IIUM Gombak. So today I will be responsible for hosting this webinar session, and I'm glad to welcome my partner for this webinar, Adib, Aina, Noor, Azam. So both of us will be the moderator for this program. Hi Adib.
Hi. Assalamualaikum everyone. Okay, my name is Aina Noor Azam and I will be partnering with Nurin as moderator throughout this whole session. Before we discuss further, let me give a little briefing about today's agenda. I would like to announce that the webinar is divided into three parts. The first part is we'll be focusing on disability inclusion from the inside of the educational sector, followed by the second part in which we will be attaining the experience of close relative of people with disability from Sister Farhah. And the final part is for Q&A session, where all of the participants or viewers today are welcome to ask anything you want regarding our topic today. And all questions will be entertained by our guest speaker, inshallah. Before we begin, let me introduce our special guest. Our first speaker is Puan Nazmin Abdullah, who is currently working as a lecturer from Jabatan Pendidikan Khas, IPG Kampus Darulaman Kedah. And our next guest is Sister Nur Farhah Muhammad Fisol, a second year student from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology who has experience dealing with the disability. Perhaps both speakers can give us a little introduction about yourself. Maybe Puan Nazmin can start first.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. So I hope everybody are all fine and in good health. Okay, and I think we are still in the mood of Raya. So Selamat Hari Raya Adib Fitri to every all Muslims celebrating Hari Raya. And yeah, today I'll be sharing a bit of my own experience and also a bit of my knowledge regarding disability inclusion. So before we start, a little bit about myself. Okay, so my full name is Nazmin binti Abdullah. So I'm currently working in Institute of Teacher Education in Kampus Darulaman, Jitra Kedah. So I'm a special education lecturer. So my job is to train special education teachers. Okay, here. Right. Apart from that, I am also a mother of two special need kids. They have autism, so age 18 and also age 10. So yeah, I started off actually as an English teacher, but when I have a special need kid, so my passion has been, switch from teaching language rather to teaching special education. And also right now, we have formed a society under the PDK, under the Rehabilitation Center under JKM, Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat Malaysia in Perlis. Okay, probably I can share a little bit on that later. Okay, so we have a center in Perlis focusing on getting the special need teenagers for their life for adulthood. Okay, so because my son is now 18 years old, so I think we need to prepare him with all the skills that he needs for in order for him to lead. You know, to be able to live independently and also have something to look forward in life. All right, so apart from that, and I was before teaching in IPG Campus Darul Aman, I was also a teacher. I teach in school for 10 years in primary school, and also I have also been working as a school administrator for 3 years. and in KPM, Bahagian Pendidikan Khas, KPM Putrajaya for 2 years. And before I got back to Perlis and in Jitra, I work as lead of program, head of program in Pusat Genius Kurnia in Sentul, Kuala Lumpur. So that's a bit about myself. So probably we can share a bit later. So not to drag the time. So I give back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan Nazmin, for such an interesting introduction. So, Sister Farhah, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Noor Farhah binti Fisol. You guys can call me Farhah. I'm currently studying at University Islam Antarabangsa in my second year, second sem in Department of Sociology and Anthropology. So from my side, I will share how I deal with the family relative that have a special or we call as a disability.
So, I'm pretty sure that most of you who's joined us today have been wondering how do people with disability cope with their disabilities? How can I support my students? Or how can we support our friends with disabilities? Or am I actually treating people with disabilities in a correct way? So if you have this question in your mind, then this webinar is for you. It is because our guest that we invited will be sharing with us an insightful knowledge throughout this webinar to answer all the questions that you have been wondering. And I really hope that our listener will pay attention in this sharing session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask during our Q&A session at the end of the discussion.
All right. Without further ado, let's begin our webinar with the recitation of Surah Al-Fatihah. We will start the discussion with a simple general question. And this question is for both of our speakers. And the first question sounds like, what is disability inclusion to you? Maybe Puan Nazmin, can you share with us?
Okay, thank you for the question. So basically, disability inclusion is actually just to make sure everybody has the same opportunities to participate in every aspect of life to best of their abilities and also desires. Meaning to say that everybody has their own abilities and their own desires, and also they have their own life. So talking about disability inclusion, we always think that people with disability, they don't understand what's happening in the world, and also they're probably having difficulty in learning something, in understanding something. So actually they also have their own desires, and they also have their their own idea of how they want to lead their life. It's just that they are having difficulty with, like, expressing and also probably accessing to the whatever facilities, or um, uh, being outside, meeting people, and trying to deal with the stigmatism. So basically, when we talk about disability inclusion, it's all about, everybody has the equal opportunity to lead their life. So I think that also lead to also talking about our role in the society. So everybody has their own role. So we have to play our role to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity and also equal enjoy their life to the fullest. So that's it from me.
Okay, we have listened to Puan Nazmin's understanding towards disability inclusion. And according to Puan Nazmin, what a disability inclusion is about people that have our own idea of life, and but people with disability have difficulty in explaining their thoughts, and we have to make sure we have to play a role so that everybody has equal ability to lead their life, equal opportunity, and explain our own idea of life, right? So what about your opinion, Sister Farha, regarding disability inclusion?
For me, it's also same like Puan Nazmin. I think inclusion means that everybody with disability is including in our society. Like because for me, they also have the right to be included in the society, and I think person with disabilities, they encounter the biases, they face the barriers in the society, and sometimes it will make them they feel excluded. So that's why disability inclusion play the important role in our society to make sure that they don't feel the biases, they don't face the barriers in our society.
So from what I've listened, basically Farha have the same idea with Puan Nazmin, which everyone need to be included in the society. So we need to help each other out regarding anything, differences and all. So moving on to the next question, how do you think is the practice of disability inclusion in Malaysia at present? Perhaps Puan Nazmin can explain first.
Okay, so talking about the practice of disability inclusion in Malaysia right now, actually, the switch or also the chronology of special education Malaysia plays a really big role in switching from exclusion to inclusion. Okay, so when we talk about exclusion to inclusion, there are also another part of process that have gone through. So if I can recall, okay, as for the chronology of special education in Malaysia, so special education in Malaysia has taken many different forms during the last 60 years. So we have started from last 60 years. So probably I can touch a bit on the, the laws and also um, the act that also plays the part in the change or the switch of special education and also inclusion for special need people. All right, uh, so after the years of independence, the different department of government address different needs for children with disabilities and also who has impairments. So in the last 60 years, so the first school for children with different needs, which focus solely on physical impairment. Okay, so because easy for us to identify people or pupils, students with physical impairment, and also easy for us to, know what is it that they need, how we can support them in terms of physical. All right. So Malaysia has started with, like, giving supports for students with physical impairment. But we during that time we neglect a bit on the broader learning, mental, and also the emotional impairments. Because when we talk about mental impairment or emotional impairment, it's very hard for us to identify or to address the issue because we cannot see with our bare eyes. Okay, all right. So in those early years, so children with needs that weren't related to deafness or blindness receive education, okay, primarily through mainstream schooling. Okay, so students with physical disability, they have special program for them, but a student with deafness, pekak, and also blindness, buta, okay, they learn together with special as with the mainstream student in the mainstream classroom. Okay, so then after that, in 1990, so the government slowly shifted its policies to more reflective on the social model of disabilities. So probably when I mention social model, there's actually need a bit more on explanation on that. But before that, the treatment of people with disabilities focusing more on clinical model or disability model. When we think of people with disability, we talk about their impairment, we talk about their, you know, they are lacking, they are lack in something in their life. Okay, so when we switch from medical model to social model, so there's a push on you know, the rights of quality of education, the rights for access to facilities, and so on. Okay, so with that, with regard to that, so Malaysia's Ministry of Education began to take steps toward the inclusion starting from 1988, when the children with disabilities were offered assistance, okay, through the integrated special education program. We'll also call it in Bahasa Melayu PPKI, or Program Pendidikan Khas Integrasi. So we started from 1988 PPKI, and as a result, so children who experience challenges with basic skills, okay, they gain assistance within the mainstream school system, okay, with the priority of effective educational access. Okay, so moving forward to now, okay, so we already have Person with Disability Acts, okay, in 2008. So with regard to the act in 2000, Person with Disability Act, so person with disability shall not be excluded from the general education system on the basis of disability. So that's what the act do. So in addition to this, so Person with Disabilities Act mark one of the country's recent major step in transforming Malaysia society's view of special education. Not, you know, not putting them aside or not segregating them, but uh, you know, including them in the society, in the classroom, together with other children. So now, as before the 2000s, special education Malaysia has viewed from health and wellness perspectives. So person with disabilities were seen less rather than different. So when we have this inclusion for special need kids, so they have equal opportunities to be in the classroom, to learn, and also to receive support from the education system, and to be treated as a social justice. Okay, so undoubtedly, the act has played a significant and comprehensive legal and society victory for the rights of people with disabilities in Malaysia. So that's a bit on the changes or the chronology of special education and how we are in playing our part in supporting the disability inclusion in Malaysia right now. That's all.
Okay. So basically there's difference like before and now, for
Yes.
example, from exclusion to inclusion. So before this, people don't really aware about disability inclusion. And starting 1998, right, madam, there's effort
Yep.
taken by the government to include them in the society, as what Puan Nazmin explained earlier, in the context of the right to get education, PPKI, and the right to use um, to use to use what do you call that? This will give them assistance and make them to be included together with other children. Right.
Yes, I would like to add a little bit, okay, on the transition from the exclusion to inclusion. So it started off with exclusion, where the children were not given the opportunity to access education at all, to segregation, okay, where they are being put in a special school. It's not a mainstream school, but special school where they are segregated. So they learn in the special school. There's no normal or mainstream students there. Two, and then we switch to integration, where they form an integration program in mainstream school. So students with disabilities learn there together in the same compound with the mainstream students, and now inclusion, where the special education needs the students learn together with their peers with the mainstream student. So that's a little bit on the transition of disability inclusion in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's very compact answer. I think now many people aware about the transition from the uh, exclusion to inclusion. Thank you, Puan Nazmin, for your answer.
You're welcome.
Okay, we proceed with the next general question for Sister Farha. Okay, Sister Farha, how do you feel about the stigma that people have about people with disabilities, especially in our country?
Okay, so as we can see nowadays, people, I think people started to have the awareness about the disability inclusion in Malaysia, because I think more people are more educated, so they know about disability, and um, but for me, I think they still have a negative perception or stigma towards the disabilities person, especially when they saw the disability person in public area, and sometimes people with disability, they started to have their to throwing tantrum, right? So maybe there be like the what we call the negative perception towards them, and I think it is because people still do not understand the issues in really depth. So actually we need to increase the awareness regarding disability inclusion, especially through social media, since nowadays we know that social media is really what we call really easy to reach people, so we can spread the awareness about the inclusion through the social media. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with what Sister Farha said, because I think more awareness should be done, because I don't think many people aware about disability inclusion just yet, because we can still look at how people treat people with disability when they meet them in a public area, for example, right? There still have certain perception that I found maybe negative, or maybe they just don't understand about how we should treat people with disability, or give them the equal treatment just like other normal uh, people, right? So, Madam Nazmin, do you want to add anything about the stigma that people have about people with disabilities in Malaysia?
Okay, all right. So I would like to share a bit on numbers, talking about numbers, the effect of stigma to people with disability. So, based on the research done in Canada, okay, so 53% of kids with disability have zero or only one close friend in school. Okay, so 53%, okay, half of them. Okay, and then kids with disabilities are 2 or 3 times more likely to be bullied than kids without disability. So this is also very serious. Okay, when we talk about bullies, there's a lots of types of bullies that we can see, not only, the stare, but also verbally, physically, and so on. Okay, and then 25% of children with disabilities under 15, they have lack access to education supports, or also accommodation, in order for them to, follow through with their inclusive education. Okay, so for them to be in the society, in the school, together with their peers. So when we talk about stigma, there are actually 3 types of stigma. We always thought that stigma only occurs to people outside, but there are also stigma that happen to people with disability, what we call it self stigma. So of course, from the outside, so we have public stigma and also institutional stigma, but we also have self stigma. Now let's look at a bit on, I will share a bit on self stigma. Okay, so self stigma is when a person with disability accepts the attitudes of society or of the medical community. So, for example, when they go somewhere, when they don't have the access to, a facility or a building, something like that, so they just accept it. They don't say anything about it. Where else they should actually fight for it. This is actually their rights. So self stigma, they are accepting. They say that, oh, I'm not part of community. This is not my right. So I just accept whatever people say about me. So I just accept that this is not my place for me to be. So I'm not supposed to be here. Okay, so I'm just I'm not perfect, something like that. So that is also self stigma, and also self stigma is rarely discussed and can lead to hopelessness and helplessness. So when they feel hopeless and helpless, so of course they don't want to do anything. They don't have anything to look forward in their life. Okay, and also as for the language that people use, okay, like crazy, delusional, insane, incompetent, they are disturbed, out of control, abnormal, they are too dependent to other people. That is also actually the language that people always use on people with disability. Okay, so and the effects on that, they have low self-esteem, and they tend to live in isolation. They feel devaluated. Okay, they feel that they have social rejection. Everybody doesn't want me. Everybody doesn't like me. I'm not supposed to be in this world. Okay, and also they feel shame to themselves. Not only they feel shame to themselves, but maybe probably their family also feel the same. They feel that why I'm having this, this child. I want a perfect child. I want a normal child. While God is giving me this child. So they feel shame and they don't want to, bring their kids to school. They don't want to, bring their kids outside because they feel shameful to their kids. So yeah, I think that's a bit on stigma on my side. So that is it.
I agree with what you said when
Next,
you
Puan
said.
Nazmin, I can say that you have a lot of, yeah,
Okay, can I go first?
yeah, yeah, silakan.
Okay. I agree with Madam Nazmin when you state that self stigma is rarely discussed, because we often talk about what parents feel when they have children with disabilities, but we don't talk about uh, people with disability itself, about their uh, feeling when they got any treatment from other people, right? Some might be harsh on them, but they don't know how to explain it or how to talk about it. So I think self stigma should be discussed more in this matter. Yeah, Nurin can proceed with the next question.
Alright. So, Puan Nazmin, I can say that you have a lot of experience in this field. So, would you mind sharing with us what makes you interested in the field of disability studies? Because I believe that not everyone have the interest of have the skills to take this study, because dealing with this person with disabilities requires lots of patience and skills. So, what makes you interested to jump into this field?
Okay, so thank you, Madam Moderator, for the question. So as I mentioned before, so I was not from the special education field. Okay, so I don't know anything about special education in the beginning, but because I have a special child, which is my second one, is actually the one who, turned me into somebody who's like so passionate and like really love to study or to talk about special education needs is also the opportunities for them to learn. Okay, so apart from that, when I look at the our education system, I can see that there's actually lots of work has been done, but there are also still lots of other things that we can do in order for us to support people with disability, like the one that I did in Perlis, where when I received a lot of support in KL when I live in KL and Selangor, with the family support system, with the family support group and everything. So I feel that there's none in Perlis. So that's why I gather my courage. I'm not saying that I'm good or I'm the expert, but I try my very best to give back to community, because I feel that if there's nobody, if we keep on complaining and we just keep on pointing fingers, it will not solve the issue. So rather I would take the challenge and work out with the people around me. I mean, amazing people. They are like so positive, to bring change and also to provide support for families who has children with disability. So with that, we are trying to make change rather than pointing finger and asking, okay, who's doing that, who's doing this, but rather we point at ourselves and think about how we can contribute. So I think that's it.
I see. So I can see that your son is the one who makes you interested and passionate to pursue in this field of disability study. So the fact that you work with people around you to bring the change in this matter is so interesting. Thank you, Puan Nazmin, for sharing such a nice story with us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, Puan Nazmin, I'm sure you must have a lot of experience in dealing with PwDs because your own son is, included in this people with disabilities. So, as an experienced person and an expert on this field, can you share with us some tips on how to interact with people with disabilities? I mean, what is the do's and don'ts that one should pay attention to when communicating or interacting with people with disabilities?
Okay, all right. So thank you for the question. So I think um as for what we can do, so what we can do first, I think more on acceptance, because of course everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses and potential and desires. So the first thing that we can do is that we can stop um, you know um, uh, try to label people, try to, making premature perceptions or negative perception, especially, okay, and also try to understand them, because especially for students with learning disabilities, because of their behavior and because of, their attitudes. So people always perceive them as like, I'm afraid to be near them. They probably hit me or hurt me. So but actually that is how they express their thoughts for people with disabilities, especially those who are nonverbal, because they don't know how to voice their needs and what they want, how their frustration towards verbal, verbally. So that's why they're showing it through their behavior. So I think as people who are like positive and also supportive, so we try to understand them first and try to really look at what is it that they are trying to deliver, what is it, what's the message that they want to tell them, what is the message that they want to tell us. Okay, so from that, okay, then only we can get the support that they need. Because okay, if we are not giving them the support that they need, for example, if they are not thirsty and we are giving them water, so it is useless, right? So it's useless because we are not attending to what they need. So first, number one, we need to understand first what is it that they need, how we can help them. Then only we come up with a plan on how to support them. And also, apart from interacting with people with disabilities, we can also try to understand the families, what's their hardship, and how to understand their case, because of course they understand their children better. So probably we cannot understand from the children, rather we can ask the family. So that also plays a really good part in helping and supporting people with disabilities. Other than that, of course, when we talk about support for people with disabilities, we cannot go beyond, we cannot forget the aspects about facilities. So learning facilities. So there are a number of locations throughout Malaysia, including schools or, government buildings or, building out there, which does not are not equipped with full physical access infrastructure for people with disabilities, especially for those who are with, physical disabilities. So this can bar special needs children from attending school in their area. So with that, they need to travel far to go to other schools, which is maybe far away from their home, to get access to an education. So of course, without questions, building infrastructure that is accessible for all, including for individuals who use wheelchairs, directly relates to equal education process. Other than that, with regard to our special education as a special examination in 2016, so Malaysia does not have a nationwide examination for special needs students. So students with special needs had to take the traditional state exam, but now they have the alternative exam. But that is also still in the in the process of trying to get things done correctly to serve the purpose, or to serve the purpose of the alternative exam for special needs students. We need to look actually at um, the needs of the students again. Okay, not only to assess them or not only to get them to sit for exam, but also to look at actually what is it that they can do with the skills that they learn in school for their future life. Okay, and then for conceptual understanding of special need, of course, while social understanding of special needs has improved over years, okay, so the educators' understanding of the different types of special needs is still lacking, I would say. Okay, I'm also a special need education educator and also special education need teacher. So I think there must be a better and more accurate early development detection that could solve the issue, like what we are doing in IPG right now. We are trying to not only give the theoretical information or theoretical aspects about disability, but also getting them to go to the community, go to the people with disability directly, so that they can understand the issue better. So I think with the proper diagnosis of the issue that probably I share a bit, so educators can better prepare for appropriate teaching strategies for students. So I think that's a bit on my sharing of what we can do about it.
So I can see that the first thing that one should do is to accept and include people with disability and make they feel accepted, appreciated, right? Then only we can know more about how to meet their needs. Okay, that is such a great tips. Thank you for the tips, Puan Nazmin. Uh, all right, Nurin.
Oh, would
Uh,
you mind, Puan Azmin, would you mind sharing your opinion on how we, the society or the public, can do in order to support them or those who handling them in public? For example, let's say they have like an episode of tantrum, because I've seen a video in social media where a boy crying loudly and throwing tantrum shopping mall. And the people in the comment section, some of them understand and some of them cannot. So in this kind of situation, how the person around them should behave or react or help in any way.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So as for the growth of social media sharing and also the viral videos, yeah, of course we know that there's a lot out there. Okay, so of course we cannot control one's interpretation, but how we can improve on that is that not only making judgment, but also trying to understand. So probably if you see somebody or like a child or probably a teenager, behaving badly in the in public, so probably rather than you just like say, oh, this boy is bad, probably the family or the mother doesn't teach him, so probably they are too pampering them too much or something like that. But rather than that, probably you can go to the parents straight away, and ask them, okay, what is it, how I can help, or probably you can offer something like food or whatever you want, you can help with the situation. Or probably like I mean, for some of the videos that we can see in the social media, especially when they throw tantrum in the public, then struggling. The parents are struggling to to handle their kids or their children. So what we can do is that rather than just staring, judgmental staring, okay, we can go to the family. I believe that all families with special need, they would be more than happy to get question like from strangers asking, how can I help, so what can I do to help, do you need some water, do you need something, so probably you can start with that, you can start with asking what is it that they need. Okay, and don't be scared, so don't be scared, because of course if you don't know how to handle the tantrum child, of course you not be advised, it's not advisable for you to handle the child themselves, but rather you can ask the family on how you can help them.
Right. I see. Instead of making judgment, people should try to understand by asking them or offer some help to the parents. Thank you, Puan Nazmin, for the tips. I'm sure that this will enlighten those who are facing this kind of situation in the future. And hopefully, they can apply the tips given by you. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. I saw one question from our viewer. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
can I read the question?
Yeah.
Sure, madam.
All right. So there's one question from Aisyah Kamalia Diana. For Nazmin, what do you feel about the terms of low functioning and high functioning? So yeah, can I explain a bit on that?
Yeah, sure, madam.
All right. Okay. So, based on so when we talk about low functioning and high functioning, we are talking about um, their needs. But that doesn't mean that kids or children who does not throw tantrum or does not behave badly or aggressively in public doesn't mean that they are high functioning, because the terms of high functioning and low functioning is actually basically you have to really look at all the basic needs of the children. Like for example, when we talk because the needs is actually very different from each child, and also very different in each needs. For example, like probably the child can learn, can memorize things, or can memorize the dictionary, or can memorize the encyclopedia. They excel in school. They score in exam, something like that. But in social or in social emotional aspects, they're having problem with meeting people. They feel that people cannot accept them, people are judging them, people are making a strange look to them. Okay, so this actually affects their social emotional part. So of course they are high functioning in academic aspects, in their learning they have no problem, but they are having problem with their social emotional, probably in their social communication aspects. Okay, so I would like to address this question with regard to all children has different level of functioning based on their needs. Okay, we cannot label one as low functioning. I mean, exclusively low functioning or high functioning. So probably one child might have, behavior issue. They have a lot of sensory issue, but they can, perform musical, or they can use musical instruments, fantastically, or they can, play piano or play saxophone or what other musical instruments, perfectly. Okay, so of course, when we talk about low functioning and high functioning, we want to think of how we can support them. So for those who has low functioning, would need higher support, higher support. Like when I mentioned before, when the child has no problem in academic, but they need high support in social and emotional, so we need to address that. So we need to supply as much support on their social emotional. Okay, so because they are low functioning in their social emotional, rather than uh, apart from the high functioning in their academic achievement. So I think, I hope that that example would, answer the question given by Aisha.
Alright, thank you, Puan Nazmin, for answering Aisha questions. So we can proceed with the last question for you. Okay, as we can see, not many educational institutions offer special education in their academic course. And IPG Campus Darulaman is one of the institutes that I know which provide this course and training to those undergraduates who take this course. So, what can you advise to those who are taking this course on special education?
Okay, so as for my advice would be, I think nowadays we not only those who are in the special education course would need to go through, would need to take subjects on special education, right? I don't know about IIUM, but in IPG, even though students from others courses like Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Arab, like English, they would need to take a subject about inclusion, because they are going to get special needs kids in their mainstream class in the future when they got posted in school. So but I think that is actually a good start, towards, equipping all teachers with knowledge about inclusion. But I think in the practice the practice part, I think we need to get more on that, to get them more opportunity, the mainstream teachers, to get more opportunities to practice their understanding. They can support special need kids in their classroom by by providing accommodation and modification in their teaching, especially, not only in their teaching, not in their teaching aids, okay, like alat bantu mengajar, not only on that, but also the environment on, and how they deliver their teaching to meet every levels of students in the classroom. So I think, as for all teachers in, focusing in Malaysia, so we have to create our awareness first, increase our awareness, okay, and start putting in our minds that, probably we will see, or we will need to address these kind of students in the future. Okay, because most of also students, they are underdiagnosed, they are not diagnosed, probably because their symptoms are not really, you know not really clear, or like probably the parents did not bring their kids to the hospital, to the doctor for diagnosis. So the teachers need to be, you have to really look at your student individually, and uh, really try to look at their characteristic. If they cannot cope like other students. So probably there are actually some other difficult. They are having some difficulties in learning. So you need to also have support system in school where the mainstream teachers need to talk to the counselor, to the special need teachers if the school does have a special education integration program. So you need to talk to somebody when you feel, because I believe that as teachers we have this instinct in our heart. Okay, we have instinct that I think this student is having some difficulty. So when you have that thoughts, so please talk to somebody. So please ask question. We need to have that curiosity in ourselves. Not only punch in punch out and then you go back home and then repeat the same routine again and again, but your student actually need your attention. Yeah, I think that's it from me.
Yeah, I believe that this advice are very beneficial for those who wanted to specialize in this area, so that future teachers will provide best accommodation and environment in their teachings. And like you said, support system in schools is also very important in order to address this matter, isn't it? Because teachers are like second parents to children when it comes to school, right?
Yes, very
Right.
true.
Yeah. Nurin?
Yeah, that's right. I did. I second that one. Let's proceed with the our next speaker, Farhah.
Okay, so we have listened to a very insightful sharing by Puan Nazmin regarding people with disabilities from the educational perspectives. So without taking any longer, let's open the floor to Sister Farha, the one who also have experience in dealing with her cousin who was born with disability. If I'm not mistaken, you have a cousin who is hyperactive, right? Would you mind sharing a little bit of his background?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not saying that I'm the one who know everything about disabilities, but as a close family relative that lives near to him, I can say that uh, I always see that his parents always uh, deal with how to take care of him when sometimes when he throwing tantrum. So from that I learned not many, but I have the experience to see they try to cope with the situation. So basically, my cousin is 22 years old. He is a male, and his name is Muhammad Imran. So yeah, like you said before, he was diagnosed with hyperactive. Um, you want me to explain further about it, or you have any?
Alright, right. May I know when did the family start seeing early symptoms of hyperactivity from Imran?
I So basically, um, his parents found out that he was diagnosed with uh, hyperactive when he was 2 years old. So that's mean that he was not diagnosed with, from since he was born. So at first, they noticed that he had a high fever and he always had seizures. So they noticed that there is something wrong with him. So they started to go to doctor, and after some checkup, the doctor confirmed that their son was diagnosed with hyperactive at 2 years old.
Next, would you mind sharing your opinion regarding how important early diagnosis for hyperactivity?
Yeah, I think it's really really important to to diagnose with hyperactive, because as without the diagnosis, this can make so many areas of life difficult, distressing, and bewildering for the undiagnosed person. And a diagnosis from the parents with their children also can prevent so much distress as the child develops. Also can stop for the psychiatric, because psychiatric illnesses developing. And in order to ensure that every individual with hyperactive receives the correct care and support throughout life, I think it is really important that the condition is diagnosed as early as possible, so that the family members also can aware what's wrong with their child and what action that can be taken further.
Okay, I understand. So I also agree that it is very important to have an early diagnosis because it can prevent many other bad things, right? And it can also lead to many more effective, successful, and also hopefully shorter treatment for the child. Okay, so having people with disability in your own family must be pretty challenging. This is because those who are special is is quite require lots of patience and all. So what kind of challenges are faced by the family who raises a hyperactive child?
Okay, so I think one of the biggest challenges that faced is by the parents, and the challenges that they need uh, they need to face is they need to learn about the disability, since before this no one in our families experience the people with disability. So it's quite tough for them to learn about it. And especially my cousin is the first son of the family. So as a mother, it's really hard for her to try to handle the situation. And I think they might be understand. I'm sorry. I think another challenges that faced by the family is they need to deal with the question from other people when they saw the hyperactive person in the public, right? And sometimes people will give the uncomfortable staring when they started to throwing tantrum in the public, um, and I think they might understand that his behaviors or sensory issues. So in this situation, uh, I think empathy and understanding is really important. But alhamdulillah, until now there is nothing bad happened. And I think the burden of stress is also um, great for the parents of these special needs, because they like need to cope with the emotional and physical demands of caring for an individual with disability. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, apart from that challenge, we also know that children who are hyperactive may face challenges when communicating. So, would you mind sharing with us on how your cousin communicates with you and the rest of the family?
Okay, since he is adult now, he is growing up, so we can see the differences in the way he tried to communicate with us as our family members. Um, and what we can say that I think he is now more dependent, and he now easily to understand what we say, what we talk to him, compared during he was a little kid. And we can see that he always in, like, before this, when he was little kid, we always see like we always saw like he is in his own his own imagination. Like when we talk to him, he just ignore what we said. But now it is better when we talk to him, he try to respond to us, and he can tell what he feel, and he understand what we said. and it's really happy to see that the changes before when he was a little kid and now. And I think the improvement can be seen when he started to go to the school. So he started to have friends and he started to learn many things. So uh, from that day he started to learn many things and make him more dependent.
Alright. So based on what you shared just now, it looks like there are improvements in the way he communicates across time. So it seems like it is much easier to communicate with him now as compared to when he was a little kid. That's such a great improvement, I would say. Move on to the next question to Sister Farha. Can you give some advice to the public about how is it like to communicate with hyperactive? Like what are the do's and the don'ts in dealing with them?
So for the due to the lack of knowledge on the essence of disability, uh, we as a normal person we don't know how to interact with them, how to talk with people with disability. So some advice that I can give is we should respect each other, be polite and considerate towards one another. So, for example, when you want to say something or ask question to a disabled child, uh, you should speak directly to them, or rather than you ask their parents. And even if the child or the younger person who has disability has a speech or hearing impairment, you should give them the opportunity to decide on the manner to speak or respond to you that suits them better. And most importantly, you should bear in our mind that a child with disability is first and foremost as a human being, same like us. So we should treat them in a way we like to be treated ourselves. And I think for some people who have just met people with disability, um, maybe it takes time for them to familiarize themselves. So they have to bear with the the children with disability.
Okay, that is such a great advice, Sister Farha. Thank you so much for the tips. And we have come to the last question for you. For someone who has quite some experience dealing with hyperactive children, in your opinion, what should people expect when seeing or interacting with hyperactive children in general?
Okay, first of all, I think we need to understand, we need to bear in our mind that disability person, they are different from us, they are special. So that's why we need to give special care, we need to give more attention, and we need to treat them lovely so that they can feel the inclusion from us. And like I said before, since they are special, so we cannot expect that they are same with us. So the way we try to interact with them also different, uh, compared to the way we try to communicate normal. So um, maybe sometimes they not understand with what we say. So yeah, we need to be patient and communicate with them well. Don't be so, don't be quick angry with them. And because sometimes special kids they have different emotions, and um, they may think, for example, they may think that we scold them, but actually we just talk like a normal. But yeah,
Okay, well, thank you, Sister Farha, for giving us some advice because I believe that not everyone have experience dealing with hyperactive children, and it is not easy. So I hope the tips given will help people out there how to handle a situation where they need to deal with hyperactive children in general. So we have listened to a very insightful sharing from Puan Nazmin and Sister Farhah regarding people with disability. So without taking any longer, let's move on to our last part of our webinar, which is Q&A session. So those who have questions or something that they are not clear about can ask in the comment sections. So I can see that there are already some questions in the comment sections by Nur Farha. Farah Nur. Yeah. She said, I have a question for Puan Nazmin. What the teachers should do if the student throw tantrums or don't want to give cooperation in class?
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I would like to answer that question. A very good question from Farah Noor. Yeah, of course, dealing with challenging behavior, of course, everybody would be flustered, right? So everybody will be flustered. We don't know what to do, and we're afraid that things would get worse. So, what I can share with the special teachers teaching special needs students, or maybe somebody that you meet outside, or somebody that you know, probably relatives. Okay, so what you can do is that number one, you have to keep a straight face. Okay, don't react facially to the behavior that they are showing. So don't get angry or don't get sad. Okay, and don't get panic. Okay, so just show a straight face. Okay, even though we, of course, this comes with practice. Okay, if you see the teachers in our centers, of course everybody plays a really shows a straight face. Okay, so number one, we cannot react, we cannot show our emotion or our um, facial expression. Okay, there's no facial expression. So, and then we have to through go and try to approach them. Okay, so go and approach them. Okay, and make sure that the situation is not is not risky and not dangerous. For example, if they are by the roadside, so make sure they are being uh, uh, bring to we have to bring them out from the road. Okay, and then if they are near a dangerous environment, like for example, if that there's a sharp object nearby, so make sure you bring them out from the area. And then you don't ask them. Probably people would also will always go and ask, okay, what is it, what do you need? Okay, because when a child with a special need, they are drawing tantrum, it's actually they actually don't know how to express their need. That's why they are showing it physically, or through their behavior. So what we can do is that probably we can guide them of like, okay, nak makan, nak minum, okay, or just throw whatever that probably they want. Okay, just throw whatever that they want. Okay, and if they respond to whatever input that you gave, and then you can say, okay, let's go. Okay, let's get it. Okay, but but of course we cannot fulfill every request or everything that they want, right? So first bring them out from their tantrum first, and show them that we are attentive to their need. We are actually listening to them. Okay, and then if they keep on with the tantrum, okay, so we need to decide on what is it that they should do. Like for example, if you meet a special child in the classroom and they are supposed to sit at their table, or they are supposed to line up with their friends in the classroom. So what you can do is that you can use a visual aids, visual kad bergambar. Okay, visual aids. Okay, to help them process the information that we are sharing. For example, you want to say, okay, you have to line up first, or you have to sit at your desk first, and we can use visual aids, okay, or pictures to show them what they are supposed to do. Because sometimes teachers, we always think that our students understand us, whereas it's actually the opposite. Okay, with the help with visual aids, okay, it will help them to understand better, because during that time they cannot listen carefully, or they cannot listen to whatever the teacher is saying. So by using the visual aids will help the student understand what is it that teacher is trying to say, or what is it that teacher is trying to tell me. Okay, so visual aids is very important. And also, in the intervention of special need case, we always use, reinforcement. Okay, we always, of course, special need case, not only special need case, every case, or every, I mean, even we adults, of course, we want, what do you call that, reinforcement. We want something positive. We don't want people to, get angry with us, or like, saying something negative. So what we can say that, okay, you are a good boy. Okay, now let's go to the table, and then I will let you do your work first, and then we'll go outside to the playground, for example. Okay, so we have to, make them feel interested to listen to what we want them to do, okay, by using what is it that they like. Okay, for example, also another example, like parents, when they listen to the input, when people say about gadgets, don't give too much gadget to your children. So what they do is that they immediately take away the gadget from their child. Okay, for example, iPad or phones or whatever. So that is actually not the correct way to do it, but rather you can lessen the time spent on the gadget, and also make use of the gadget as a reinforcement, so that in order for them to get the access to the gadget, so they have to do something first, so make it as reward. Okay, don't yeah, of course we have to lessen the viewing time or the gadget, using the gadget as something like that. Of course we have to lessen it, but don't take it away immediately, or take it don't, or you just take it away immediately. Okay, so you have to do it in a small bit and slowly. Okay, yeah, I think that's it, because in behavior modification or behavior management, there's actually lots of steps that we need to go through. But I hope that the input that I share a bit would be helpful in order for you to handle difficult situation, handling challenging behavior, or maybe you can read on the strategies used in behavior modification, which is ABC, which is antecedent behavior, and what do you call that? Uh, ABC. I forgot what is it. Antecedent, behavior and consequence. That is actually a strategy that is normally used by special teacher to understand why this behavior happens, and how to react to it, how to handle the challenging behavior. So probably you can Google ABC, or ABC, antecedent behavior consequence strategies to handle challenging behavior. That's maybe the tips that I can share with the limited time that we have right now. Hopefully, it helpful.
Yeah, it's very helpful because I think I can apply it when my anak saudara throw tantrums, one day. So another question by Zafira. I would like to know what the biggest challenges for Puan Nazmin in this field.
Okay, so as somebody who has, experienced this firsthand, okay, so I experienced this firsthand, and I understand a little bit on how parents feel when they have special need kids. So of course, the most challenging would be to, to turn your life from, being at the bottom. Of course, when a parent, um, you know, get the results, the diagnosis result from the doctor, of course, every parents would feel devastated. Okay, so my advice to new parents, especially, I would say, if you want to cry, cry. If you want to, you know, if you want to feel sad, if you want to cry, do it. Okay, of course, you have to go through the phase first. And then after that, okay, we need to get up and start searching for, support group. Get information, get, talk to somebody. Okay, don't keep it to yourself. So that's actually the process that I went through when I first get the news from the doctor saying that, my son has autism, and, this is his challenges. Even in the beginning, my son has been prescribed with medication, Ritalin. But after that, I, do some research, and I talk to parents, and then I start, talking to the doctor again, and probably thinking of like how we can go this without medication or something like that. So um make sure that the doctor is your friend. Make sure is that the community is your friend, the public is your friend. So start switching from the negative to the positive. Of course, it's not easy, because I went through it. I mean, I went through it for the rest of my 18 years. You know, um, uh, seeing him develop. Growing in front of my eyes. But right now, with the correct intervention, with the suitable, or like meeting his needs, okay, he has developed to a wonderful person. He knows what he wants, he can express his need. So I think parents we need to empower ourselves in order to help our children. But to do that, of course, it's not easy. So that's why we need support group. We need somebody to talk to. Don't keep it to yourself, don't blame yourself. And yeah, start searching. So that is also why we form a support group, or like uh, a society here, in a special need parent society in Perlis now here. Yeah.
Thank you for the answer, Puan Nazmin. It is very inspiring. I would say that you are a very good mom and strong mom. Maybe now you can share the information regarding the rehabilitation center that you mentioned earlier.
Okay, so yeah, so as I mentioned before, so I served in Klang Valley for 18 years. I've been in nearly 20 years. I've been in Klang Valley. So yeah, in Klang Valley, of course, we can get lots of resources, lots of support group, lots of courses that I can attend. Okay, and like seminars or something like that. But when my husband decided to like come back to the north, okay, balik kampung, okay. So our biggest worry is where our child is going to learn, where is he's going to attend. I mean, is there any center that we can send him? But with regard to that, we already have, our objective stated, that what is it that we want him to gain from, for his life. So in 2019, as I got back to Perlis, so we formed this society named Persatuan Sokongan Ibu Bapa dan Remaja Istimewa Perlis. Okay. And then we rent a house in Mata Air Perlis. And then fast forward to 2021. So we have transformed our NGO to being a PDK, or it is called Pertumbuhan Dalam Komuniti. Okay, our community rehabilitation center under the jurisdiction of Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. And now we are in the process of moving to our new premise, which can comply to more students. Okay, we can now accept at least 25 students, Alhamdulillah. And also we were able to, get like sign grants from the corporate, like Yayasan Petronas, like Jabatan Pertanian Negeri Perlis, or something like that. And also Majelis Agama Islam Negeri Perlis. We get some help and grants. Okay, and now we are blooming and we want to help more parents. Of course, not only in Perlis, but also hopefully in the future, we will be able to help more parents to set up their own center throughout Malaysia, insyaAllah. So our
Sure.
center's name is Perlis Special Needs Teen Center under PDK Pertumbuhan Pemulihan dalam Komuniti Anak Istimewa Perlis. So probably you can Google Pestek Perlis, Pestek Perlis, PESTEC Perlis. So we have websites, we have Facebook, and also we have IG to share our information. So probably you can get more information of what we do in our center. And yeah, if you want to ask more, so probably we can contact us through our social media and also our phone's number attached. Thank you.
Alright, thank you for the information, and I hope you will get to help more parents out there through the rehabilitation center and continue to bloom and grow big. Okay,
Inshallah,
we
thank
have
you.
come to the end. Alright. How fast time flies, isn't it? Thank you so much to all viewers who joined this webinar today, and thank you so much for spending your precious time with us. And me and my partner would like to thank both of our brilliant speakers for sharing such great and beneficial information regarding disability inclusion. And I personally learned a lot from the sharing, and we take note of all the advice and tips. And I hope that all of the tips will be practiced for good use in the future, inshallah. And therefore, we will end this webinar with Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul As.
Thank you, Puan Nazmin. Thank you, Farhah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Puan
Okay,
Nazmin.
thank you for having me. Hopefully, my sharing has a bit of contribution to information to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it really is.
Learn a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Assalamualaikum.